Mia and Hannah, you're in such a sunny spot.
Yeah, it's really
Right.
I've got a bit burnt today, actually. I've been out here since like midday and I've gone a bit red.
Oh no. Yeah, it's been really warm.
Just got my sun cream.
Might be too little, too late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Your, captain's hat, Asten.
Oh yeah, I don't know where that went. I just realised that I think maybe Dan and myself, we've painted our house the same colour. That's a little bit embarrassing.
Are you
like turning up in the same outfit?
It is the same house, isn't it?
Yeah, he's actually there.
Ooh.
I'm going to turn my mic off now and then when I'm eating these crisps.
Hello, can anyone hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hi, I'm just being a fly on the wall. I'm not an artist, but however, I attended the Open Studios. I think it was about a year ago or a couple of years ago. You know, Under the Arches, and I had a look at all the artwork, and I thought it was fantastic. And I just thought I would just find out what's going on.
You're going to put
your
headphones in,
citizen of Southampton.
Yes. I haven't got any headphones.
Sorry,
Can I get some?
Yeah,
thanks for joining.
I don't have any.
Curious to see what people are talking about.
That's great. That's really, really brilliant. That's absolutely fine. That's what this is all kind of about as well. So nice one. That's really brilliant. Thanks for joining us.
I've lived in Southampton for almost 20 odd years. I lived in Brighton for a while, back in the 80s. Sometimes it's got a lot of catching up to do. Show me about the theatre.
Yeah, but we can keep going. We can move forward, and it will be okay.
I'm all for thinking outside of the box. So this is why I'm sort of reading. So I want to see what people have to say. I want to hear about ideas. I'm not French at all. I'm just a citizen of Southampton.
No worries, no worries. I am just going to bring up my chat bit just now. So I realise I'm going to have to copy and paste some stuff in there. But yeah, Suzanne, thank you very much for joining us. That's great. That's really, really brilliant. Like, that's really, really cool. Did I see Claudia there just then?
Hello.
Hey, mate. How's it going?
Lovely. Hiya.
Hey. Oh, hey. You guys are awesome. Good. Everyone's outside. Amazing. Jealousy.
Must be some sort of bubble or something.
Hey Dan as well, thanks for joining us.
Hi.
Hey, I was just saying, Dan, have we painted our houses the same colour pretty much?
Yeah, well, we have good taste, Asten, what can I say,
Nice one.
Open Studios has been great today. Well done, everybody. Really good. Really good.
Yeah, it's a really interesting way to. It's like a kind of forced experiment, isn't it? It's like really, really cool to be able to try it out and stuff like that, isn't it? Like that. Kate Maple is lurking but not putting on her video, I noticed.
Can I just ask? Do you all know each other through your art? Are you all the people from Under the Arches or not?
Not all of us, but we're all connected somehow. I think if I'm looking at everyone, yeah, in some way or another we are connected, aren't we?
Oh wow, that's great.
Cool. So do we want to wait? How have you done these before? Do you wait a wee bit longer, or do you want to go for it? Or
I can hear
Yeah,
it.
if we just give it another 5 minutes, I'll just have a look if there anyone that we're kind of expecting that isn't here. I'll just check that and then I'll let you know.
okay, cool, nice one. Good.
I'm not the nuts. It's just because I don't want to.
Hey, Jilly.
Hello.
How's it going?
Yeah, good.
Cool, cool. It was nice to see you earlier. Thank you so much. Like, that was really, really cool.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it actually. Yeah, I really enjoyed the interview thing.
I got a wee bit confused because I don't know how I thought this, but I thought I was meant to be interviewing you. So when you were asking me stuff, I was like, wait, what? Kate, are you just being really fabulous and like literally like you're on Zoom in a car?
I am. Can you hear me though? I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah. I'm on the way to Southsea, but I really wanted to take part and listen in.
You're not driving, are you, Kate?
No, I worked that out.
Yeah,
She's on the wrong side.
Good.
Kate, amazing.
That's amazing.
We've got 17 tickets sold, Asten.
Oh wow.
We'll kind of hang on for a little bit and see if there's another couple to join.
Okay, cool. Nice one. Wicked. Yeah, because yeah.
Amy and Dana are still interviewing actually.
Okay.
I've just come out of that to join this, but they were still going. I think they're on the last question.
Oh, okay, cool, nice one. So we'll just wait 5 more minutes if people don't mind, and then we'll kick it off.
I'm just going to pop away. I'll pop back in a minute. See you in a minute.
No worries, sounds good. Hey, Jamie!
Hey, Jamie!
Hello!
It's really fun to see everyone who'd usually be at Open Studios. This is awesome.
Yay!
Open Studios as a punter. It was really weird this year.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've seen everyone that would have seen, but in just really strange ways.
Yeah, that's
nice. Past my house.
Oh, cool. See who's on here. Loads of people. This is brilliant.
I don't know how it works on the phone. Maybe. No, I don't think so. Because they've stopped talking, haven't they?
Just going to shut my door. Hang on.
Maybe we are. Maybe yeah. But also, I think no, I think we're muted now. But I don't think we've muted the whole. You think we've muted? No, yeah, it's not hearing voices now. It's frozen.
Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah, you're really clear. Yeah.
Okay, cool. It's because of this old beauty. I was also worried about my internet. Because I'm going to obviously be kind of like saying what's going on, introducing it to a certain extent. So I didn't want to be dropping out while I'm kind of explaining that and stuff like that. So good to know that it's nice and clear. No, thanks to BT, I bought some like extra internet or whatever the hell it was, and then like some hardware. And then I phoned them up and I was like, this doesn't work. And they were like, show me a picture of it. And they were like, I've never seen that in my life. And I was like, who have I bought this from? Like,
oh.
So annoying.
Oh.
I'm going to take.
Yeah, I was looking at things to do today around the place. Getting that flat.
I'm already out of wine. I'm going to get more wine. I'll be back in a mo.
Good day. Good. So is that Claudia's one that we can hear quite a bit? Claudia, is that your feet? Is that your bin? She's just going to the bin. Put something in the bin.
Yeah, can you mute me because I can't work it out. I've never done it on my phone.
Oh,
so if it's
I can't.
So I don't know.
Mia, are you able to do that?
Sorry, what, Asten?
Can you
Are you able
me?
to mute other people? Are you doing control over that?
I can, yeah.
Because I tried to mute me just now, but it didn't work.
Don't worry,
I think
Claudia, it's all right.
everybody kind of just stays muted and then unmutes as and when they kind of want to join the discussion. And we'll just keep an eye on the feedback.
Sure thing. Okay, great.
If there's like 3 or 4 or 5, it seems to be okay. It's only if there's sort of 8 or 9 that it starts to get a bit of feedback.
Okay. Are we getting to see Claudia's entire house? This is great.
No, this is I'm trying to keep the carpet. Lizzie's house.
Everyone look at Claudia's carpet. Knife. Oh, Fazel's nice. Okay, cool. Welcome new people who have come. We were just waiting a couple of minutes to kind of like kick off and stuff. Yeah, so Ash, hello Ash, hiya, how's it doing? How's it going? How's it going?
Good, thanks. Nice to see you. Nice to see you, Dave. Okay,
Hi.
hi everyone I know. Hi, Alice.
Thanks so much for coming along, guys. It's really, really great. Amy, were you just doing interview stuff you've just finished? Yeah, cool. Oh no, she's muted. Oh no, we can't hear what she's saying. She's chatting from you. Oh no.
I muted myself.
Oh, okay, sweet.
Because I was doing stuff. No, I was just saying, yeah, me and Darla just finished. I don't know if she's joining, but I'm here. Hello, everyone.
Yay, hello.
Cool, nice one. Okay, so Mia, what do you think? Should I kick it off?
Yeah, I reckon so. I'll just let people in as they come and yeah.
Yeah, and then as people come in, I know probably people can't. I think they can't see the chat, so I might keep copying and pasting in what we're doing and stuff like that when I see new people come in and stuff like that. Yeah. Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for coming along. It's kind of hilarious saying that since like you're not here, you're there, but that's great. I'm just copying and pasting into the chat bit. I realize some people are on their phones, so I'm worried that actually this might not work as well as I wanted it to, but we'll work it out somehow, kind of thing. So basically, the lowdown today is, obviously, as you probably know, Southampton is trying to bid for City of Culture at the moment. And basically, this is a platform for people to just kind of like, in light of us winning, I kept saying if we win, but in light of us winning, when we win, this is a platform to kind of talk about kind of like imagination and just speculation and ideas of kind of like what we might want our City of Culture to look like. There's no wrong or right answer. We're just coming up with ideas like, and we can totally go really, really far into kind of crazy, but then we can also kind of like talk about things that are kind of worrying us maybe and stuff like that kind of thing. So it's all speculative. So it really is kind of like no wrong or right answer here, really. Another rule that I would say on the side is share the mic. If you feel that you've already like managed to like say your idea, kind of like pass it on to someone else and don't kind of like hog the mic too much. Participation is encouraged, but you don't have to. It's totally fine just to listen. You don't have to join in whatsoever. When I was on, because obviously this is going to be an open discussion rather than me talking at everyone at all. And the way when I was in a talk the other day, people raised their hands to say something, but because I can't see you all at once, I need you to write into the chat bit. So I'm hoping that people know how to do that and can do it on their phones and stuff like that. But the way that you can say, I was thinking you can say something like raise your hand or something like that, but you're going to be typing in the words keep Southampton weird, and that indicates that you would like to contribute to the conversation and say something. Obviously on phones that might be a bit more difficult, so maybe as long as you get the keep or the Southampton or the weird at some point kind of thing, like yeah, that's how you're going to indicate that you'd like to like add something to the conversation. I'm just going to do a wee bit of like an introduction in terms of like where I'm at. So when I invented this this event, it was a wee bit of a rogue event because I didn't have anything to do with City of Culture. I just liked the idea of the kind of like artists and creatives or anyone coming together of Southampton and then just kind of like pretending we'd won and then just thinking up ideas. And just that idea in general, I really loved. But since then, I have been asked to make the promo video for City of Culture. So I've actually become quite involved now. Still don't know what's going on because it's still building at this point. So there's no kind of like, again, no wrong or right answer in terms of like, oh, what is the bid and what are we going for? We're all building it together at the moment. Yeah, but I just wanted to come clean about the fact that I'm doing this film and stuff like that at the moment, because like I'm not as rogue as I wanted to be. Also I wanted to say, we are going to be talking about ideas and kind of like speculative thinking and stuff like that. And so that could be about ideas about events and things that we could do. But also, I don't know with City of Culture how the money is distributed or how that all works. And so we can even speculate about that. We can talk about it in a way where we can talk about like, oh, well, if we get this sum of money, we'd like it to be distributed like this. But I don't know if that's how it works or not. But like, it would be quite fun to just talk about that in that kind of way and where it could go and stuff like that. In terms of like this event just now, I do, with my artwork, I do a lot of kind of like speculative thinking events. I did the You Belong Here project at the John Hansard Gallery, which resulted in a big neon sign that's on the side. And that was based on a speculative thinking project with LGBT youth in terms of like, sometimes LGBT youth can't see themselves in the future. And so it was this idea of building a future for themselves and like just speculating what they might want that to look like. And so we're doing a similar thing here where we're kind of just playing with what we might want the future to look like in this kind of stuff. So yeah, that's what, so that's kind of the idea behind it. I wanted to kick off with some ideas that I had, which I have recently moved to St Denis. I was living in Shirley before. And I've moved to a house that has a river down at the bottom of the garden, a river that I knew nothing about and didn't really realise was there. And now it's there constantly, sometimes coming up to my back door, which is kind of terrifying. And just being really aware of the water now and how that's a blank canvas, really. Before I was thinking like about the fact that like I was just like, oh well, now I'm just being really privileged because it's right at the end of my garden. But actually, yeah, the amount of like it goes under the Itchen obviously, and there is like quite a lot of access. So if we were to do something on the Itchen itself, and I came across this piece which is a little embarrassing because it was cool. It's called the You Belong Here piece, and it was made before mine, and full on looks like I've stolen it. And it's an artist that I really, really love. So I feel very, very embarrassed that I didn't notice he had that before. But he, out of neon as well, made the words, "You belong here." And they sail down the river at night, and it goes up and down the river. And yeah, I just really love that idea of like using the river as a kind of blank canvas in some sort of way. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of like just kick off like a mad idea, just showing how like, because trying to put something on the river was obviously going to be probably very difficult, and but I just wanted to show how much we're leaving logistics at the door, and yeah, just throwing kind of like ideas around and stuff like that. So is there anyone who has anything that they wanted to like chat about? And so oh, we've got our first Keep Soton Weird. Amazing.
Hey.
But I'm going to mute myself.
I just want to add to that point about using the rivers. I volunteer at K6 Gallery in Southampton, and we've always talked about rivers and how they're kind of not used very much at all. And we kind of discussed this idea of getting a boat and using it for the kind of summer season to take art around to different communities like via and then in the winter the idea was to kind of let it out, so we were going to do it up and sort of do a kind of boat Airbnb for half the year to sort of generate some money to run the boat in the summer. So yeah, thanks Asten for kind of talking about that, because it's brought it to the forefront of my mind again, and it's a project we sort of talk about every other year and haven't made any great strides towards making it happen, but perhaps it could with the kind of city culture bit.
Was that an influence anywhere else? How did you get that idea?
It came from Alex Batten, who's one of our other volunteers. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know where he got it from. He has many mad ideas. I'm not sure where they come from.
Because I thought I saw, because obviously I've only in Bristol, obviously like Spike Island and the Arnolfini being like very close to the water, and I thought I saw that they had a boat that was like a kind of like a place where for residencies, but then I realised actually it was just on the side. And I was thinking about the idea of a boat at that, but I hadn't seen it before. I hadn't seen people doing that before, kind of thing. But like that would be really amazing, like with that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think one of the reference points for us was the Exbury Egg, which is a project that sort of went around the south. I'm not kind of that familiar with the project, but it was basically this sort of built egg, basically, that was kind of moored up at different points across the sort of south coast. And yeah, like you say, it was a space for residencies mostly, so people would kind of spend time in it, make some work, and get to know the kind of local community, and then the egg would move on to another place, and it would happen again. But it's quite a nice idea.
Where was that? Sorry, who had the egg?
I don't know. I can't remember anything about it other than it's called the Exbury Egg, I think.
Okay, an egg. That's so mad.
It's kind of weird point.
That is so weird, and like I really love that idea of kind of like really connecting people to the water, because it felt weird when kind of like I moved here, because I only moved here about 5 years ago, and then kind of like and I did all the classic things that I get really annoyed about people now, kind of thing, like people where I was telling people recently about the fact I'm from Hastings, and when you're from the east you think anything past Brighton is Cornwall. And like when people say that now, I get like super annoyed. And then coming here and thinking there's going to be a beach, and then realizing like that actually it's a port, and how important that is, and how like linked we are to the water and stuff like that. And then just now I was just down the way, we've got a slipway, if that's what it's called, don't know, where you put boats in. And there's these guys that go up and down with these like sailboats. They're coming up and down actually at the moment, like we sailboats. And when they were going past the end of my house, I was like, oh, they must be really posh people, because only posh people have boats. And then when I went to go chat to people, they were just like me. And I was like, this is mad. And like, it was just really amazing how Southampton like just does that without any fuss, kind of thing. Like, whereas like in Kent and stuff like that down my way, it's just like people like me wouldn't be allowed to do that, kind of thing. Like, so the fact that Southampton has that, like, that's like a really big thing that I'd really love, like, to have a more connection with and stuff like that, kind of thing. So like, yeah, having an actual like kind of like gallery on the water would be amazing, because that would bring people there.
We've got a Keep Safe and Weird from Dave Hubble and Deborah Gearing as well.
So Dave, should we go with yourself? Wait, Dave, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Dave!
I've just the river. I mean, me? Can you hear me? Yes. Cool. My internet's dropping in and out. Basically, Kate's on another event upstairs, so I think our internet's a bit struggling a little. Yeah, just thinking about the items and all sorts of things like coal porters, which you could exhibit in if you wanted to. They hire it for all sorts of things, and they're keen to do events. I don't know, yeah. And you've got the people on pontoons and all sorts of things. Quite like the idea of sort of islands, like you know, all those sorts of things, jetties, all the things that are along, even through the industrial bits. Could be quite interesting. But yeah, trying to sort of find links into those people.
Yeah, that's really cool with the pontoons idea. That's awesome. I think that's really good. Utilizing like people's spaces that they already have is really awesome. And then already you would have to have all these houses, all those houses, everyone involved already. That's already like a really big part of it. I know that Kate, I can't remember their name, but they were the light people who are lighting up the place at Western Shore, where they're putting something in each window, and so each flat is already being involved. So that's like a really great idea, like using people's pontoons and stuff like that. That's really, really cool.
Can I just say that there is already Riverfest? I don't know if you've heard of that. Sorry. Yeah, Riverfest, which has been running for a few years now. I don't know, 3 years? Riverfest, yes.
Sweet.
So, and that's all to do with like music, and using all the pontoons and using the bridge and under the bridge, and yeah, as many people as possible on the water and on the side of the water, the bank.
Wicked, we're ready made. I didn't know about that. So that's amazing. That's really, really cool. I noticed that someone under one of the bridges has put a hoop on it. People have been playing.
Yeah, basketball, I think, or something, you know, like.
Oh, man.
And there's also TriFest.
Which linked in with Riverfest for the land people that didn't have access to the river.
Yeah, the people who didn't have access to the river. So there was TriFest, which was sort of, at the same time as Riverfest. So they kind of linked things together with each other.
Sweet, amazing, cool, great. Deborah, I've got a Keep Soton Weird. I can't see you, but I can see your name. That's about as far as I've got. Oh.
All right, okay. No, I was just going to, I've been preempted because it's a spud project. And I actually was involved, I had a residence in the observatory, which was another one of their buildings, which was sort of like a beautiful shed in Buckler's Hard. But I also wanted to flag up the Free Theatre of Belarus. One of their projects was on a raft, theatre on a raft. Yeah, which was under-rehearsed but brilliant.
What was that called, sorry?
The Free Theatre of Belarus.
I really love the idea of like examples of other places as well, like obviously like just kind of like inspiration and stuff like that. Like that's really cool, because like I think if you see it you can believe it, kind of thing. Like, not that Southampton, I've learned from being here, you ever have to do that, because Southampton just seems to just do whatever it wants all the time. So like but that's really cool, Deborah, thanks very much. That's really awesome with the Free Theatre one. You say that you were prompted by Spud?
My residency was actually through Forest Forge Theatre.
Okay.
And another writer and I had a couple of weeks in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sweet. I thought I saw another. Oh, people are just like putting in loads of the Amplest of Butte. Like, yeah, I've started it off on the river, and that's where we've gone. This is awesome. It's flowing like the river itself. Did anyone have any ideas in terms of like did people know a lot about do they feel very connected to the fact that we're going to be bidding for City of Culture? Do they feel quite removed from it, or do people feel like they know what's going on and stuff? Dave's going like this. Oh, Suzanne, do you want to have a chat? Oh, you've got to unmute yourself. Unmute.
Sorry. Can you hear me? I just want to briefly say, with Brighton just down the coast, it's quite hard to think that Southampton could be a city of culture, because Brighton's always doing something all year round. And I'm just kind of thinking that I love your idea about looking at the sea, the water, the nautical side of things. We've got the Department of Oceanography, we've got Sea City Museum, we've got you guys, we've got Under the Arches. It'd be really good if we had sort of like a Dockland stroke nautical fest, just where people can go out onto the water to see art. And it'd be great if like other places would open up as well. And like, for example, the art gallery, if they could pull out some of their work on any tests that they've got, for example, in the archives, if they could bring it out too. It would be fantastic. I'm just kind of thinking of like the May Festival in Brighton. I know that goes on for an entire month of May, but if Southampton could get a bit more kind of coordinated in that way and put it on for a couple of weeks somehow. I know that sounds really very ambitious, but I think that would be fantastic. And I think Dave mentioned earlier, or even yourself, about bringing in the sort of Dockland side of things, because we're not we're not a place of destination, you know, it's just a place where people come and then go. But we've got the cruise ships as well. You know, we need to make more of this connection that we have in Southampton. Brighton has it made anyway, because people want to go, they want to swim in the water. But we can't just swim in the water here in Southampton because of the pollution and the link it has with the docks. It's not, you know, it doesn't lend itself very well in that way. But if we could all sort of go with a nautical theme and get people out onto the water as well to actually see some art. It doesn't have to have a nautical theme to it, but just get them out onto that. I think that'd be great. That's just my you know, 2 pennies for what it's worth.
No, thank you very much. No, I really appreciate that. Like, it's interesting what you say about Brighton, because like, I feel like kind of like looking to the sides and kind of saying, oh, well, they've got this, I've got that. But what I've been saying to a couple of people recently, what's been really interesting is my brother, well, I'm from over that way, and my brother lives there, my sister-in-law is there, and every time I'm kind of like for meeting up there, I'm just like, right, should we go to Brighton, because that would be the obvious thing to do. They're like, no, we want to come to Southampton. They always want to come here. Like, all my friends from Brighton always want to come here now. No, it's because they're like, Brighton's done. Like, it's all it is kind of like, it's almost like London now, like there's no way in. Whereas like Southampton, like they're like, every time you take us there, there's something new, there's something going on. Like, it just feels like anything could happen at any point. Like, it feels really secret, and we feel really cool being there and stuff like that. We love going back and telling people like, oh, we've been to Southampton and we've been doing this, that and the other. So I feel like the time's turning a wee bit.
Yeah, I do think that we should sort of try and somehow make something more of the docks somehow, like the industrial side of things, as well as the kind of artistic side somehow. I think because not everyone has a Docklands, you know, and I just think that we should make a little bit more of that. We need to decide. I think Southampton needs to decide what it is, what's it about, you know, and you know, to have for the 2025 bid, whatever. I think it needs to have like a very broad theme. And it needs to, I think the water would be fantastic, but I do think that for example, the art gallery needs to get involved as well, because I saw their archives a long time, many years ago, and they've got stashes of artwork that no one really sees because it's just kept under a vault, you know. And I think they need to wake up a bit and put that out. Sea City Museum needs to be used as well, and I don't know how many artists there are right now, but you know, why can't the council give you some space in there, you know, sort of to show, to exhibit your work? Do you understand? It's kind of like the I like the serendipity of going in other places, but I also think that the council could help as well, and you know, sort of lend out some of their space, perhaps.
Yeah, I know with that sort of thing, like I think it's difficult for them in terms of like well, not difficult, but I think like so like I think we're kind of like coming in from this angle when like we should come in like this kind of thing. Like when I started hearing loads of people talking about their amazing collection, like I keep hearing people talk about that, and I think that's a really beautiful thing, the fact that like in Southampton people are like actually kind of like like it may be difficulty in terms of logistics at the moment, in terms of like letting people see that, maybe in terms of funding, and maybe if, in light of winning a City of Culture bid, we would be able to see that more. But the fact that we know about it and the fact that we're proud of it, I love. Like I really love that, like in general. I was just going to move on to oh sorry Suzanne.
Yeah, okay. No, it's fine. I just think that, for example, I don't work in the council. Sorry if I'm upsetting anyone. I don't mean to, but I just want to say that the council have a lot of art in its archives, and it's not showing it to the people of Southampton. You know, it's just keeping under wraps. And I just think that, you know, they need to play a part in it as well. And I think you know, they could lend out a little bit of their space to you guys. I don't know where you do your art, but you know, kind of there needs to be this kind of interactivity that I'm not really sort of seeing with the council at this moment in time. But of course, obviously, licenses and insurance and all the logistics takes forever to organise, and it could be difficult to arrange.
Yeah, I think like when obviously being an outsider and moving here, I feel like councillors are quite like are kind of like weird malleable kind of like substance. Like they kind of like go very set, and then like, but sometimes all of a sudden they'll go one way, And so I think if we just keep chatting like this, as you say, kind of thing, we can keep going with it. I noticed a Keep Southampton Weird a while back on the chat. I think it came from Jilly. Was that right? Is Jilly still here? Has she disappeared? Oh yeah, she is. Oh, there, the dog.
No, yeah, I'm here. Yeah, no, I guess I just wanted to sort of talk a bit about the waterfront, and I agree that there isn't a lot of access to like the city centre's waterfront, but that's all owned by the Port Authority. It doesn't belong to Southampton.
That's
So
right.
it's really, really difficult to actually engage with the Port Authority, I understand, but also, you know, it's a private company and they don't want loads of people milling around for, you know, all kinds of reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, Dan, you've probably come up across that a lot, haven't you?
I haven't kept Southampton weird, but am I allowed to talk?
Go for it. I know Dave is in there again, but yeah, go for it.
I mean, you're absolutely spot on, Jilly. ABP, who own all of that land, quite frankly, are a problem. You know what I mean? They don't want access. They don't really want to play ball. I'm from Southend-on-Sea originally, you know, a kind of seaside town. And when I came to Southampton, I think you mentioned it, Asten, as well, like from Hastings, you kind of come here and you think, wow, where's the beach? Where's the coast? And you get here and it's a bit of a disappointment, really. But I wonder if this is a great subject, and I wonder if there's something here, City of Culture is kind of really ambitious kind of thing can help unlock. You know, can we somehow, you know, appreciate and respect and use our kind of our waterways more? You know, you've got the Itchy and the Test, you've got that kind of that industrial dockland. I think someone put in the chat, maybe David, comes all the way up to Bishopstoke. I mean, it's a really kind of important feature of the city, and it's massively underused.
I think the problem, one of the problems I found, and I've been in Southampton on and off since I was 5. When I was a kid, I remember going to Mayflower Park, and that was really lively, vibrant, everything made out of concrete, you know, fall on the ground, bust your head kind of thing. But there, you know, loads of people went there. But the boat show seems to have taken over that Mayflower Park. So everything seems to be privatised. And the last time I was in Mayflower Park, it was so depressing. The kids' play park is, you know, like this big in the corner. They were going to build them a splash pool, but, you know, I don't think they've even done that. And then it's completely taken over by the boat show, and everybody has amazing access to the water, you know, if you can afford a ticket for the boat show kind of deal. So I think
bollocks to the boat show. I mean, it's just, you know, it's this kind of white elephant that comes into the city, and I don't know of anyone from the city that actually goes and gives a shit about it, quite frankly. You know, it's...
No, they say that, oh, you know, it brings loads of people and loads of money into the city. Bollocks does it. They get off the train, go to the boat show, eat everything, and, you know, engage in the boat show, get back off the train and fuck off. So,
Absolutely.
You know...
Absolutely, completely agree with you, Jilly. But I think there's definitely something in this about, you know, kind of City of Culture, kind of, you know, kind of opening up some of the waterways and making us more connected to it. I mean, it's lovely, Asten, to hear, you know, you kind of just moved to St Denis and you're like, you know, kind of, there's these wee boats going past, and suddenly, you know, that's kind of become part of your life. And I just think as Soutonians, you know, that kind of connection to the water is super important, but completely, unless you live in St Denis, maybe, you know, just kind of absent from daily life. I mean, we're privileged down in the old town where we work that, you know, sometimes you look out the window and you see this giant container ship go past, and it's like, oh, wow, yeah, the water's like 10 meters away. And you wouldn't know that. It's, I think this is a really interesting topic, that if City of Culture can unlock some of this, that would be a massive win, you know, really would.
Yeah, and I feel like, as you say, because I was living in Shirley before, and like love Shirley so much, and but
Shirley,
like,
man, but you know, come on.
Yeah, Clockwork, we all love it. Like, it's all amazing. Like, and
the bars are available.
Like, but in terms of like, you're very, very cut off from the water, and it's been a really strange experience moving here, and then being in, well, I was in Highfield first, then in Shirley, and then in St Denis, and then kind of like within a very short space of time. And so like that was a really interesting kind of like, I've been on this mad kind of like 3-year tour, like of like the different places, and I feel if things like kind of like, with the boat, when A Space sent me to Venice, this is what I was talking about before, about the fact that like everyone I saw so many similarities between Venice and Southampton, not but just because of the cruises and stuff like that, but also they've got the same struggles of the fact that like people are just passing through, like people come off the cruise ships and they're just they filter into Venice to kind of see it and stuff like that, but then they're just going back on the cruise ship. So it is a similar thing to the fact that they just pass through, they don't buy anything there or anything like that kind of thing.
No,
so
no.
we've got the similar struggles. By the way, Julie, thank you very much for your point. Like I forgot to say thank you.
Yeah, that's okay. One other point while I'm unmuted is I think something that I believe is fundamental to the bid for City of Culture is grassroots, like up, not helicoptering in talent. We've got the talent here, so I think, you know, let's use it. I'll mute myself now.
That's age old, isn't it? Like making sure, like, and every city I've like worked in, like, yeah, always saying that kind of thing. It's about having trust, isn't it? Like, I feel like sometimes, like Glasgow was a wee bit like that. Sometimes they'd really trust in certain people from Glasgow, because like obviously they've got loads of Turner Prize winners and stuff like that kind of thing. But like anyone else wasn't allowed to really kind of like, they wouldn't have a trust them kind of thing. So yeah, I'm glad you made that point, because that's important to be in there. But I was wondering in terms of like, if so the boat show, it really sucks. I noticed like another thing that was like really similar to Venice was the fact that like they make a bridge out of like scaffolding. I noticed, like, and then and that's only there for the boat show, and when usually you can't really get over that road at all. It's like really difficult. And there was a similar thing in Venice in the fact that like one of the bridges there, like people campaigned to keep it. It was only after one of the festivals that it like they were going to get rid of it, and everyone like said like, oh well, it's been great access kind of thing. So I was just like, my God, I'd love to campaign to have the boat show, like scaffolding boat, like bridge to stay there. But I was wondering if like if say the boat show happened and then all the infrastructure was like left there, like in a minute, let's go on to talk about what would you do with that space. I'm just going to go to Dave first, because I think there's a Keep Soton Weird there from Dave.
Yeah, I mean, all of the above, really. I mean, I think in an ideal world, the council would be really interested and invested, and not just words. I see the opposite, frankly, on the occasions I see anything at all. I think, when was it, the meeting there was, I don't know, a year ago or something, there was a launch, there was images of boats and yada, yada, yada. And then a few of us, me, Sarah, a few others, put out an open letter, basically. And the council response, well, the official council response was pretty bland. The actual real one internally, because a friend of mine works on the desk next to them, was just do not engage with these people, they're criticising us. And that was their initial response, was to immediately detach themselves from any possibility of criticism. That cannot work. I mean, there needs to be a fundamental change in how they think and how they view the art, creative community. I don't mean just us, more broadly. They need to get over the politicisation of their events. Music in the city is toxic, because if you're a critical venue, you don't get to play. The art house is never in it. Joiners, I think, never allowed to play, because we openly are critical of political things. They will not let you play, and they have to stop doing that. They have to just accept that we don't all see the same things the same way, and let everyone have a go anyway, and just get over that stuff. And that's huge. I mean, it was one of the guys who'd done the whole bid. I cannot remember his name because a while ago. He's making all the same points. You've got to depoliticize the process. You've got to support your struggling institutions, not just the big ones. I mean, everything's struggling now, but and all these things, you've got to have it a really strong grassroots element. You must not helicopter in your talent. It's basically all the things he said were the diametric opposite of how the council works. And Southampton City Council is notoriously corporatized. I don't mean it as a corporation, but in the sense of how it functions. It's monolithic. It looks at things from a corporate perspective. And unless it, and this is really fundamental, you know, I really want them to do it well and get involved and get it. What I don't want to do is what I posted up, which is guerrilla art. I don't want to have to do that. I want it to work properly. But hence that earlier. There are people in there. I mean, sat there, yes, but has no funds, got no budget. So, you know, she can be very good at talking and be great, and herself be really supportive. But what can she make happen? It's limited. And I know this is it feels negative, but I think it's important, is that, you know, there's this fundamental, and I don't know how to do it. I don't know how you sit the people down in the council and go, look, the reason we criticise is this, but we're trying to be constructive. It's not about point scoring, it's just trying to make things better. Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with clouds. We can, if you do things, you will get away with it. But and I mean, the boat show's a fascinating example. Money comes in, but it goes straight into, some of you know I curate at the old bond store. The money goes through them. Some of them go in there. They're hedge fund managers. They're city people. They've got quite big companies. And then they send it off to the Caymans or wherever they send their money. It doesn't really come to Southampton. It kind of, like a lot of people, passes through. But it's really, I'm just wondering if anybody knows, you know, how do you get into this big monolithic thing? I mean, Dan, you may know more from, you know, dealing with a lot more people over a long period of time. How on earth do you get in there and, you know, change some really quite monolithic mindsets? It's where I am with it. I just keep going back to those big points of depoliticising and grassroots, not top down, and a lot of this means some quite big changing, I think, if we're going to get the council properly on board. I mean, they'll say they're interested, but they have to really push it and resource it and put serious effort in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sorry, I just think it's, you know, it's kind of fundamental.
Yeah, no, this is really, really important. And the bringing up the idea of guerrilla art, I'd like to talk to that more. And yeah, Dan, have you shortened it to KSW? I love it. I love it.
Yeah, soz.
Yeah, go for it.
It was as quick as type. I mean, Dave, I think you're absolutely right, mate. You've just spoken so much common sense there. And you know, I don't work for the council. We've worked with the council over the years. Look, there's a long way to go for them. But let's be frank, actually, some of the people there right now, your Councillor Cores, Carolyn Ables, Claire Whitaker, who's now coming into the bid, they are better and more motivated than we have ever had before. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I remember living through some Tory administrations, and it was an absolute nightmare for the culture. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying it's perfect, or, you know, we've got their ear enough, but it's better than ever. And actually, I think do you know what? I think conversations like this, I think they would listen right now more than, you know, previous administrations.
Okay, I mean, that is interesting to know in itself.
You know, but, you know, also there's, like, you know, there's a lot of power in kind of the artists, and actually, you know, I wouldn't underestimate the kind of guerrilla approach to some of this, or even in the run up to it over the next couple of years. You know, you know, just do it.
I mean, I'm not averse, don't get me wrong, but it's really hard work.
You know, it is.
And then people fail because they think they're going to get
we talked about, and it was touched on earlier.
But,
we need to get. Sorry, Dave. Sorry.
No, go for it. Carry on.
I was just. It's a key point that I think we need to play back to City Culture people. We need to get the money to the artists. Full fucking stop. You know what I mean? It's the artists that will put these things on, make these things happen. You know, that money can't sit. You know, a kind of council level, and you know, that's. I also need to make a quick confession. So, like, I do sit on the steering committee for City of Culture, and I was really, you know, very pleased to have that invitation, because I want to be able to take some of these messages back into them, you know, and this notion around, you know, kind of supporting the artists. Let's get the money to the artists. You know, I kind of feel that's the role I can hopefully play in some of those conversations. But Dave, yeah, we've got a long way to go, mate. We've got a long way to go.
I think we had James talking, but I think Suzanne got her hand up just before that came in. So
just very quickly, please, just very quickly. We took artists, okay, which is absolutely fantastic, but it's culture. So it includes music, and for example, where I live, sort of Beavis Valley Portswood area, we have a residents association, and there's also like a Beavis Mount history group, and they run tours in the common around the locality. So that's another opportunity where local people can get involved from the grassroots up. I just wanted to say that because I always think of art as being the thing, and of course I absolutely love art, but there's also music, and there's also guided tours, history groups. It's all going on, and if all that could be integrated somehow into sort of like a week's worth of programming or a month's worth of programming, it'd be fantastic.
I think that's really, really important. I think that's a really important point about the fact that it isn't just art. That's why I wanted to say the fact that like it's thinkers, creators, creatives, it's everyone just now kind of thing. Like I keep bumping into people while trying to film the City of Culture film, and when I was filming those guys down the road, they were telling me some stuff that I didn't know anything about, and it's just down the road kind of thing. So like it's about kind of like these conversations and then working out how our networks come together as well. So like all that stuff is really, really important as well, like especially history and stuff, because that's where we're going to find our identity as well kind of thing. I've got another Keep Soton Weird from, I think that might be Ash. Is that list team as Ash?
Yeah, hi, sorry, I didn't realize I was signed in on my work account. Yeah, I was actually going to say a similar thing to Suzanne, to sort of broaden it to think about music. And I was thinking in particular of having some kind of original musical, which is at least partly set in Southampton or kind of celebrates some of Southampton's stories. And I'm thinking particularly about the spa town, and you know the way in which it sort of used to be quite a popular kind of healing destination for a long time. And before that, it was the Magdalen Leper Hospital. And so the whole area where the Marlins is now used to be Mary Magdalene Hospital lands. That's where the name Marlins comes from. And there's like a little teeny plaque in the park and nothing else. Like you never hear about it. So I think, you know, something, whether it's a musical or, you know, songwriting or whatever, but there's something that kind of links those stories together. And also going back to the pilgrims as well that used to come through Southampton, they're reviving the old way. At the moment, the British Pilgrimage Trust has just reopened up the old way from Southampton to Canterbury. So there's all these kind of unheard stories about, you know, pilgrims and water and healing, which and plants, which all kind of linked together.
Yes.
That's really, really
and
cool.
Also we could use students as well. You know, we have a thriving student population here. Everything in place. The students do music and art and that kind of thing. You know, we need them as well. Although obviously it's grassroots residents, but they are residents too, even though they're students. Yeah, I think it's great. We need to look at history.
And I think just, sorry, can I say one other thing quickly, just to put in a kind of a reminder or a plug for really keeping diversity at the forefront. You know, both in terms of kind of ethnic diversity and, you know, the trans community or the LGBT community more broadly, and just, you know, the traveler community, and just really kind of making sure it's not just a sort of a, you know, white cis het middle class thing, but really trying to bring everybody in.
Yeah, and like Southampton is like super, super diverse, like, and that's something that we really would like, we should be getting across kind of thing. Like there's like there is a big queer community here, and not that we have a lot of places to go and stuff like that kind of thing, but like there is one here, and like yeah, the lesbians like hangout has been like shut for ages, IKEA, so it's been difficult for us, but also like obviously it's like really diverse in general kind of thing, so kind of like bringing that in. We've got a Keep Soton Weird from Amy here as well.
I was just going to say hello everyone, and about you mentioned students as well, keeping them here. I think like a lot of what Mia's doing with ripe mangoes, ripe tomatoes, ripe bananas is doing a really, really good job of that. But I think as well as the artist community, getting some of the other courses at the university and stuff, because I've been working up at the hospital with a lot of students during this whole pandemic, just doing like doors, checking stuff, IDs and stuff. And I've met a lot of students and a lot of people not from Southampton don't really know anything about Southampton. They don't know where anything is. They don't know what anything is. They're not engaged with it, yet they've been studying here for 3 years. And it's really weird. So I think figuring out a way to get them involved and them more interested and engaged as well is really helpful, as well as actually people from Southampton who, again, don't know a lot of the cultural things because, rightly said, they are very white, middle class things a lot of the time. Because it always boggles my brain when I go to events like these, which are wonderful and really open and lovely, but it's always white. It's always very, very culturally not diverse in terms of your ethnic background. And I just think it's bizarre because I grew up in St Mary's, and it's a very, very, if you're white, you're a minority in St Mary's, so it's very interesting. And the school I worked at as well at St Anne's is mostly ethnic minorities and more black and brown faces on the students. And also, but interestingly with that, this is a whole other thing that I'm just going on a tangent now, but a lot of the teachers are white as well, and I find it really strange that a lot of white teachers are teaching young black and brown students and students from different backgrounds, and I don't know how you sort of they can't fully get it, even if they want to, even if they're best intentioned. So getting more people from different backgrounds is so important, and I don't quite know how to fix that. And I've gone on a tangent now, but
no, it's really, really important, like because you're absolutely right about the diversity, and yes, it is always these white faces on these, and
people, but
no, absolutely, and we need to bring it up. Yeah, I wanted to chat about that in more detail actually, but I just wanted to really quickly ask Amy, like, what if you're hanging out with the students at the hospital, like do you get a sense of what they think about Southampton or anything? What do they say?
Do you know what, interestingly, people from Southampton and students from Southampton both don't feel pride in the city, which is, they just think that nothing happens here, it's really shit, and it's not very interesting. So that's really boggles my mind, because for the way I see the city is really exciting. Loads of things are happening, at least culturally and in the music and the arts and events like that. And the patients coming in as well are all from different backgrounds, so it's really strange. It's really strange. People from the city don't know or aren't engaged with the city. And actually, I've been a little bit involved with this online lecture series organised by an architect called Darren Bray, and I did a speech for him, and they organised a talk at God's House Tower before all this, and there was a couple more. And through that I met someone called Ruth, and she's organises Ladies Wine and Design, which is an event getting women out who are designers and creatives to come and drink wine and chat and hang out, and it's a really great networking event. But she really talks about this idea of people being proud of the city, and I'm trying to feed it into my conversations at the hospital, but not many people have any pride in the city, and that's something that me and Ruth we're working on a project now to sort of try and figure out how to do that. And I think it's a really important point to raise in a conversation like this. Like, how do we get people from the city to have pride in this city? Because we are constantly, like was said earlier, we don't really know what we want or what we're doing, or sort of what was it? We don't know what, we don't have an identity that everyone sort of can relate to, being a Soutonian. And I don't know how to figure it out. I'm trying and thinking and trying to ask people and have conversations, but I think that's something to ask.
Yeah. Identity seems to be a big thing. It's interesting, like,
I think Southampton seems to be, I think I think Southampton seems a bit confused. It seems a bit confused. It doesn't quite know what its identity is and what it's actually about. And I keep going back to the Docklands and to the history of the place. I think that needs to be brought to the surface a bit more.
Yeah, no, it's really, really interesting points, because I'm going to go to Dan in just a second because we've got a KSW. But I just want to say, I think Southampton totally does have an identity. At first I didn't think so, because because people kept saying that, but moving here and like meeting people here, like it really, it was the most welcoming place ever, which I expected because it's a port town, and it's almost kind of like despite itself, it's super, super like welcoming. It's almost like welcome. It's kind of like, hello, oh, I didn't mean to do that kind of thing. It's like so welcoming. It doesn't even mean to be all the time kind of thing. And coming from Glasgow, which is another port town where they're like, oh, we're so welcoming. And I was like, actually, Southampton's more welcoming, because they're not like kind of like doing it in a way where they're like, oh, well, we're Scottish and we're always welcoming. Like, of course we are kind of thing. And I was just like, actually, Southampton's amazingly welcoming. And I fit in immediately. Like, I knew where I belonged. I knew where I sat. I found it very, very quickly. Glasgow, it took me years. I don't think I even managed to kind of work out how to belong in Glasgow, to be honest, at any point after like 12, 15 years. Whereas Southampton, immediately within a year, I felt like I had a place here. And I just feel like Southampton doesn't go on and on about it. And I feel like other people go on about how they don't go on about it. So like we feel almost kind of like, oh, well, maybe we don't have an identity then kind of thing. Whereas like, I really, really believe that we could win this. Like, I just think we need people to know that like how chill it is here. It's so chill, we don't even know how chill we are type thing. Like, it's such an amazing place here. And I feel like when we're here, like, we don't realize how great it is kind of thing. And like, we need to somehow say the identity, because I need to put it in a goddamn video so I can tell everyone else so they can do it in a shorthand. But like, it's more about the fact that like, it really does, like, I guess it's trying to work, but it's just so chill, so welcoming. And so like, it's just the fact that it doesn't even think it has an identity just shows that it does. So Dan,
that's our identity.
Like, sorry, Amy. Dan, you were going next.
Asten, that's absolutely beautiful, man. I think I'm totally on board with that. I mean, I also feel the same. I think Southampton does have a really strong identity. We just don't know how to express it. You know, we just don't shout about ourselves at all. I wrote my KSW before Amy started talking, and Amy, you've said what I was going to say, but in a much more eloquent way, quite frankly. And I think we could turn that round. I think you could say some really great outcomes from City of Culture would be that groups like this are more diverse, and we change that for fucking good, you know, and actually we come out of this with a lot more pride around our city, you know, and a bit more of a voice. So, you know, yeah, but I'll refrain from my KSW because Amy, you nailed it. That's exactly what I was going to try and say. Well done, my friend.
But diversity, yes, we need to come back to that properly.
Do you know what we write? Well, I think more and more in these sorts of meetings now, you hear people calling ourselves out, and I think we have to do that. You know what I mean? If we don't look around and sort of actually say, you know, this isn't a right. You know, these are all beautiful people, but where are the other colours and faiths and backgrounds, you know, amongst us? So yeah. And what I find, well, I want to talk about it really properly actually, but like but it's interesting how like I know all of us have diversity in our lives, and then when I come to spaces like this, it's not here, which is really weird. But Dave, though, I had a KSW from yourself.
I mean, some of it again has already just happened, so that's great. But yeah, it was more an observation on the back of that now. It's changed since I typed it, in that some of the biggest, most vibrant events I've been to have been not white events in Southampton. So a couple of years ago, I got asked for a long and peculiar series of events to judge a children's art and writing competition at St Mount Pleasant School, and it was rammed. I ended up being like the white bloke being the judge, which was very peculiar, but that was because everyone else bailed. And, but it was awesome. I mean, it was absolutely awesome. And it was huge, and it ended up on Pakistani TV, and it was on Pakistan Independence Day. And then there's like Sher Adab, which are like primarily Urdu poets, and they sometimes do stuff at Unity. But they have these big events with like loads of people, hundreds maybe, doing poetry in a very different style than we might be used to, open mics and stuff around the rest of the city. And it's, you know, there's a guy running it, and he's the secretary of the Pakistan Culture Association. In Afghanistan and Pakistan, he sold like 50,000 poetry books. He's like Seamus Heaney, and we don't know him. And it's really hard. It's almost like Southampton's a bit tribal. We've got that goes on, and there's like a reticence to mix in. And then, you know, even like within our little cluster here, you've got like the art house bubble doesn't really go to the other side of the park because the joiners is a bit smelly. And the joiners crowd don't come back across the park because the art house is all a bit middle class and full of glitter. And it's a real thing. I mean, I actually talk to people like, I'll go where the bloody events are. You know, I don't really care where I go. I mean, I've got favourites, yes, and I've got all reallys, but I'll go. But that is something we have got identity, but it's in funny little bubbles maybe that can mix. Sometimes they do, and it's wonderful. And we got the Urdu poets out once, I think, to get to the poetry Words on Wheels when we had buses as stages a couple of years ago. Well, it's Charlie Hislop primarily, and it took quite a lot of cajoling because Faisal, who runs that, was like, nobody will be interested, they won't understand the language. No, we just want the lilt, and it doesn't matter. And that was quite a long conversation to come on, have a go, and it'll be fine. And I've been invited, and I've gone to theirs, and I can have an interpreter if I want, kind of thing. And it's fascinating, and it's this whole huge, and it's bigger than some of the stuff we do, even a big launch at the Hansard. And it's kind of just hidden. It's not hidden away. It's on other TV stations. It's on other media, but it's out there, and it should be part of the city of culture. And it shouldn't be us. You know, it should be up here with all these other things. That was it. It was kind of observation, as I say, anecdote really. But yeah, just supporting what Amy and then what Dan said really.
No, I think these anecdotes and these examples are really, really important. That's kind of what I really wanted as well, as kind of like pointing out what happens elsewhere and stuff like that, or like, well, I keep like being really awful about Glasgow, which I feel really bad about, like, because like obviously like I was there forever and I do really love it, kind of thing. But like it's just really interesting as a kind of like example, because I feel like they see themselves as very, very diverse, but actually it's so much more diverse down here. Like there isn't a lot of diversity in Glasgow, and that's why they don't have as many clashes. And I feel like just recently they had the problem with the sectarianism, the fighting and stuff like that at the moment. Obviously that's separate from the really awful situation within for the Stubbings, within the refugees, within the hotel. But in terms of like the fights that they have in the square, they have those all the time. They're constantly there. Like I lived just down the road from there, and that was like during like independence and stuff like that. They were all happening, but everyone's just like, oh, that's nothing to do with us. Like that happens here, and like it's just this, like that just happens, kind of thing. And they don't own it. Whereas like here, I feel like if something's happened, like Southampton owns it. They're kind of like, yeah, we have a problem with racism here. Like we are very diverse here, and so there are clashes happening, and we need to work on this, kind of thing. Like we are looking at it and like actually like addressing it, even though obviously it's still happening, and just saying it isn't enough, kind of thing. I don't know, I didn't read all of it, but I don't know if anyone saw Anish Kapoor's article in the Guardian about kind of like diversity within the arts and stuff recently. But he was saying kind of like either collect properly where there's no tokenism, or don't collect at all, don't bother. You can do one or the other, but like don't do this tokenism idea. And I do feel like there's a possibility that we're in this sphere at the moment that like possibly tokenism might happen, and we all need to work together to make sure that doesn't. I know I'm going on and on. Oh, Deborah, goodbye. Has she already gone? Goodbye, Deborah. But I just wanted to say one point about a personal experience in terms of, I used to run a group in Glasgow, which I got a lot of I got really pulled up on the fact that like it was actually not very diverse at all. It was, and I thought because it was a queer event, and that's what like queers fall into quite a lot, is you think that you're diverse just because, but when you're a white queer, like you think you're exempt from racism, and we were a very white event, and I didn't quite realize. I thought because we were really welcoming, it didn't really matter, and the fact that like if they wanted to come, they would come, kind of thing. But actually, it was very, very white. It was only geared towards white people, and it would have been quite a hostile environment towards kind of like people of color and stuff like that. And I got pulled up on it. And so then when we invented the next stage of it, which is the film festival we have, my friend Helen, who runs it with me, has done an amazing job with making it an extremely diverse event. And she did that working with lots and lots of different people. We kind of worked with loads of groups all over Glasgow, and we all need to come together. So obviously we've got the showcase, which obviously the actual venue recently has just closed, but we're still there and still we're going to be in more communities than ever now, kind of thing. But we need to work with God's House Tower. We need to work with John Hansard. We need to all work together. K6, like everyone, like and A Space, we need to all work together to make sure that like across the range that we're like managing to do this and like manage to book diverse artists and stuff like that. Because if just one venue's doing it, it just starts looking, and we just do one each, it does start looking like tokenism. So I don't know, it's like just a difficult place to tread, and I feel like we're on that at the moment, and we all keep an eye on it. How did Helen do that? So I guess it's a little bit easier because it was kind of like almost kind of like a incubator to a certain extent, because it was one event, and it was a queer event. So I feel like that's already kind of like on a step to kind of like, she just made sure that the program was incredibly diverse in a very kind of like open, not just we've got this black person in here and stuff like that. We had themes and made sure that it was like completely and utterly over like all of it. Like it wasn't kind of like this is the black person now. It was like themes and then like different conversations within them, kind of thing. So yeah, we worked really hard on kind of like just making sure that for a while we were only looking at kind of like black artists and stuff, which is kind of what we're doing at the showcase as well. We're working with a lot of diversity there, to the point where I hadn't worked with a white artist for a year at one point. And it's just because one thing went to the other. Like we met one artist and then did this idea, and then we were like, oh, that's a really cool idea, go with this. And then it ended up just because we were looking in that area, kind of thing. Like, not saying that like I know how to do any of this, because I have no idea really, but yeah, I've talked enough. Does anyone want to talk? No one's taking off their mute. This goes on until 9, doesn't it? Are we not all really tired? Oh, I keep forgetting that you guys can see each other. I keep thinking it's only me that can see you. Well, I've got a song prepared that I was going to sing about no, I haven't really. God, all your faces. You're all so supportive. That's really sweet.
I was so excited.
So yeah. Well, this has actually been more kind of like constructive. I was kind of like, people don't usually want to talk. Well, so Southampton does. Southampton always wants to get to the nitty-gritty immediately. Like, whereas like when I was in other places, they were just like, oh, let's make like we'll have a hot air balloon and then we'll just like all fly about and stuff like that. I was just like, let's just do those types of ideas. And then no one is like accountable for anything whatsoever. But like all you guys were just like, no, we want to talk about this properly, like straight away. So yeah. But does anyone have any extra kind of like ideas or anything that they want? Oh, Dan. We've got a KSW.
Sorry, I don't mean to be holding the talkie stick. I was just really taken about those notions of the water. And for me, another really redeeming feature of the city that I don't think we necessarily make the most of is our green spaces. You know, we are a city centre that is full of some of the most beautiful parks. You know, we're blessed with the common. And I just think there's something in there as a place and as a theme, or as a kind of, you know, an opportunity for artists. You know, I think, I know, Jilly, I think you and Sarah are doing some lovely stuff in and around Riverside Park. And do you know what I mean? In that kind of, I guess, slightly guerrilla style, which I would completely back and endorse. But I think as we move into sort of city culture, and I'm assuming at some point there will be an actual kind of process for artists to be putting ideas forward. You know, and I walk through the parks to work every day, and you kind of, your imagination just runs away with you about what they could be. Do you know what I mean? Because they're gorgeous spaces, but, you know, when it's give artists the chance to, you know, really light them as a really simple idea, or, you know, just, yeah, I don't know. I think green spaces is a feature of the city that, yeah, I'd like to see artists just given kind of like access to, go crazy in them, you know. Right.
Yeah, don't we have the most green spaces in like in the UK or something? Like we've got with the greenest city. Apparently,
wow.
I heard, maybe that's not right, but I heard a statistic that like we have the most park space in like
wow.
like yeah, in a city.
That's amazing.
Certainly one of them is
like
common, it's so huge.
Yeah, I think we should start. Well, to everyone in Brighton, I call it Central Park, and then I'm like, oh, sorry, the Common. Like it literally is like Central Park if you look at it. The fact that like it's this massive green space in the middle of a city, like, and when people see it from like from the sky and stuff like that, people are just like, what's that? Like, and I'm just like, oh, it's just our Central Park. Don't worry about it. Like, totally cool. Did I get another Ash? Yes, I did. Yes.
Yes, hiya. No, this is really, I love this idea about the parks, and Alice will remember that before the pandemic, I was trying to get my head together to do a project which would be based around the Peace Fountain. There's a particular set of songs that I've been working on, which go around the wheel of the year. So it's one for each of the seasons, or two for each of the seasons, but based on that circle, with a sort of divided into quarters, that being the basic shape. And I realized that this shape was there in the Peace Fountains. I was like, okay, well, we need to do something with this and have people actually performing these songs around this Peace Fountain, and have people, I had an artist that I was going to collaborate with who's based in London, who's a metal sculptor, and he was going to make some flower and plants sculptures to go around the fountain and to link to these songs, because they're sort of linked to the seasons and to healing and to et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it's still, you know, when we can, obviously Arts Council are not taking applications at the moment, but you know, this is a separate thing. So you know, that's something I would still be really keen to do, just to sort of use that not architecture, that sort of shape, if you like, in the park that we already have, that sort of reflects this dividing the year into quarters and then having these different seasons and so on. I don't know if that made any sense whatsoever.
No, it did. I really love that, because that's really working with the space and working out with what's already there and stuff like that. That's what I would really, the fact that we have access there, but the fact we don't have access to the docks, I'd really love to kind of like work with what we've got there kind of thing, which is like, we could like project things through the kind of like bars or into it and stuff like that. So the fact that you're already working with what's there is what I really, really love, and what I think Southampton's really good at. I just wanted to say as well, Dan, is the Arts Council going to soon open up again, like with the?
Yeah, I was typing that just as you asked me. They have reopened. They've reopened for project grants, and you know what? Hats off to them. They've taken away the really awkward bits. You don't now need 10% match funding. And they've kind of totally relaxed the guidance around kind of, you know, audiences, etc. I was just tapping away there. If any artist in the city wants to make an application, come and talk to us at A-Space. We can help support that, absolutely. And the other thing that I heard recently, that they're concerned they're not getting enough applications from Southampton. I mean, it's an open door, people. I really encourage you to, yeah, think about that. I love the idea of your songs, Ash, in the park. Absolutely beautiful. Do it, do it.
Yeah, it does sound really amazing, Ash. And obviously, I've seen your work before and I love it. So yeah, definitely go for it. Can't believe they stopped the match funding. Did I get another KSW? Oh, parks, Amy.
I was just going to say, so many people don't know about the parks or the green spaces in Southampton, which is kind of crazy to me, because you've got the Common, you've got all the parks in town, and then you've also got the Like Riverside Park, I don't know anything about because I don't know that side of the water. Don't venture there. I do more recently, but I've never been there before. And recently, because of lockdown. Oh, and the other thing is, a lot of people don't know what's that. Because of dancing man. A lot of people don't know about the sports centre either, the green space there, which is just crazy to me. Because we have this, you don't know about it, Asten. There's a huge sports centre with a ski slope and like tennis courts and squash courts and like.
This is where Billy Morgan learned how to snowboard, right? And he's like the bronze. Oh my god.
I guess.
Where is it? It's near Shirley, right? I always saw signs to it and never found it.
It's Lord's Wood. It's like if you kept going up the avenue, Bassett Avenue, it's like on the left. Or...
North of Central Park, Asten.
Yeah, north of
I never understood why I couldn't find it, because obviously it has to be tall, right? Like.
Yeah. And there's a massive public golf course there that you can just rock up to and have a go if you've got your own clubs and stuff. Like people don't know about it, and clearly you didn't even know about it, but you know. And because of lockdown, I've discovered Ealing, which I couldn't believe is only a half an hour skateboard ride from my house. And Test Wildlife Sanctuary, beautiful. Anyone know about that? It's gorgeous. Oh my god, couldn't believe it. I walked over there and I've done my foot in. It's been hurting for a week because I went on a really long walk and I hadn't done that in months. So and skating hurts now. But yeah, like there's these spaces, and I've been exploring Warsash, which is a little bit, you know, out of. It's still in Southampton, but a bit out of Southampton, just because I've got friends that live there. So I've been going on walks with them down that area. I had no idea that it existed, and the Hamble River, and there's literally so much on the outskirts. I said earlier about we have actually got access to the rivers because I've been swimming in the rivers. I never thought I could do that in Southampton. I've never been swimming the river up before, but yeah.
Yeah, I swam in the Test when I first got here as well. Are you away, Dave? Thank you so much, Dave. I'll see you.
Gotta go.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Chat soon about whatever, many things. Bye.
Bye. Yes.
And a wee baby.
Oh, now we just get to look at the baby. Wow, yeah. Brought up on Zoom.
It's amazing how many green spaces that we do have that we don't. Even here where I live, like I live in it's a valley. Down there is actually like a little stream, and it's really nice. And my mum told me in the 70s and 80s when she was a kid and a teenager, she'd run through there with her brothers. And I go down there and I go cleaning it every now and then because it's always full of litter and shit because people don't care. And then there's also a field, and there's like this little riverway that is just a place where people walk their dogs and teenagers smoke weed on this corner. But it's actually really, really gorgeous. And my mum remembers it being really gorgeous, and running down the entirety of the river in her wellies or the brook. And then actually going underneath the Winchester Road, which is that way, like going underneath it with her brothers, or her brothers used to do it, maybe she didn't do it, used to like go under this tunnel and then come back out somewhere else. But I don't know where that river ends up. Does it end up, it must end up in the Test, but I don't know if it ends up like visible anymore, because it must go underneath Shirley. I don't know where it goes. Must follow it. But there's so much that I didn't know about, and because of lockdown, actually, I managed to explore all this, which is actually quite cool. So
this is making me realise that, please, if anyone does want to try, I know I'm talking quite a lot, so if anyone else does want to chime in at any point, but I just want to say that I wonder if maybe what we should be looking at a little bit as well, and totally kind of like, correct me if I'm wrong, and if there's already something like this going on or something like that kind of thing, but maybe we should be inventing something where, because obviously like there's a lot of really amazing pockets within Southampton, but they're maybe difficult to get to like all the time kind of thing. So like, get out of my face. And yeah, like maybe we should be like for City of Culture, making sure that we're inventing some way or inventing something in terms of travel around the city kind of thing. Like obviously the fact that lockdowns happened and that they're doing all the temporary bike lanes that like I'm hoping that a lot of us are going to make sure that they're not and they have to stay. And yeah, in terms of like yeah, like so obviously Nathan Evans, the artist, invents a lot of, he does a lot of kind of like maps with us and stuff like that, kind of like, so if people were here, we're going to need people to know where everything is, and maybe we need people even within the city and our friends and stuff to know as well. So like maybe if we kind of like have a kind of like interesting way of working out how to kind of like, so like with white mangoes and stuff like that, you guys had the like bananas on the floor and stuff, and actually that first day that was there, I was coming from work and realized I didn't know how to get to Northern Road from there, and followed them, and I was just like, this is hilarious that I'm actually following these, like these are brilliant, but then also like I'm using them. And yeah, like some sort of way that like maybe we should be like coming together to think of a way of how to kind of like show people the different areas, and like kind of like because we are quite far away from each other, and it does, you do have to go down a scary subway to get to Northern Road and stuff like that kind of thing, and like, and but so maybe people would get there and then give up kind of thing, like to that point, and kind of like working out a way that we kind of like yeah, Dan, like connect up the villages kind of thing, like, and yeah, everything like Shirley's so awesome, and then everyone says how far away it is and stuff like that kind of thing, like, and yeah, just working out ways. I'm feeling myself using Glasgow as an example again, but I don't want to because it just sounds like I'm in love with it or something. I want it to be my boyfriend. But like we had this real problem where we were trying to get people to the east of the city, where like it's seen as an area which like is people are worried to go to, but like we were trying to get more people over that way, and so we did loads of events over that side. We made sure that people kind of buddied up, and we're going there together and stuff like that, and obviously that's quite a different thing because that was kind of like trans people going to an area that they might be worried about and stuff, so we were doing a kind of buddy system, but it was like making sure that we were purposely choosing areas that people might not end up in, and we were kind of like pushing them that way kind of thing as well at the same time kind of thing. So but yeah, did I see Ash? I saw a KSW, a keep certain weird.
Yeah, I just do you remember, Asten, the project we were talking about at the showcase a while back of ways to well-being? We were talking about having the signposts around for like connecting with nature, connecting with, what was it, creativity, connecting with community.
Yeah, and then like making sure that like yeah, a way to kind of like, it's not just a map, because sometimes like, or it's also kind of like a creative way of kind of like, yeah, like kind of like connecting with a map, or kind of like understanding a space,
or little installations or something that people can look for, like a trail.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I also want to like invent, like in terms of Dave talking about guerrilla stuff, I kind of want to invent ideas where like, because recently I went on a walkabout in terms of like where we can maybe put like big pieces of artwork like painted onto the walls and stuff like that. I was going around with Go Southampton, and I think it's always hilarious because it's always like men in suits and then it's me and like turning up on a bike, and they're just like, this weird boy's here, and I'm just like, no, I'm just this tiny queer, like don't worry about me kind of thing. And then and then I'm like, and it's going to be me that's showing you around and telling you everything. And I found out then that we don't own, I might have this completely wrong, but it seems like we don't own a lot of, the council doesn't own a lot of Southampton. They don't own the lampposts, they don't own the floor, they don't own, I'm assuming no one owns the sky, but like I'm assuming we own the trees, but like we're not allowed to do a lot of stuff to it because actually we don't own any of it, we're renting it, because like, so finding out that like the like energy companies own the lamps and they don't want you touching them, I was like, right, I don't go to the council anymore, I go to them. And so like, if we know that a lot of us need to do that at some point kind of thing, but yeah, the fact that like the idea of space and place within Southampton isn't as straightforward as I thought, and even knowing that information is kind of like empowering in itself kind of thing. So yeah, I've been drinking a bit of beer, now I've lost my thread. I am enjoying very much Claudia's and Liz and Les's puppet show that's been going on most of the time. I'm loving how they're turning this into an art piece in itself as well. Mute. Oh, I was trying to work out who's going to crack first. It's me. Damn it. Well, maybe you will get to hear the song. Well, I had other ideas here actually, where well, actually, Dave had loads of amazing ones where he was talking about with Dave, like he has so much inside information, like in terms of like obviously he knows the art house so well and stuff like that kind of thing, and like I feel like the art house is like it's an easy win as well for like the city to kind of like support somewhere like that. And Dan is like sorry, Dave is very kind of he knows all the inside information all the time and stuff like that. So like when he wrote before, he was talking about it, but talking about like artist-led things and stuff like that, but also about how like money gets kind of like relegated and stuff. Like he was talking about the fact that things shouldn't be aren't fringe, like artist-led, they're not artist-led, it's not fringe, it's like this is Southampton's creative scene doing something. Like I thought that was a really important point that he said, like and that was really, really interesting. And I did want to ask Dave about the art cafe and stuff like that, but I got worried in terms of like, I'm worried he was going to tell us something terrifying, like with everything going on at the moment. So like, I didn't want to chat to him about it. And then other artists as well from Archers have been talking about, a lot of it is about access. And I guess that's pointing back to diversity again as well. In terms of like how we're able to access things and who can access them and stuff like that. Does anyone else feel that they have any ideas in terms, not ideas, but like how have they been kind of like personally trying to approach the idea of kind of like diversity within maybe in institutions or like within your artwork and stuff like that? I know at one point that like I for like a couple of years I kind of like really freaked out and didn't make artwork for 2 years because I realized it wasn't really accessible because it was just coming from a white privileged person. So like I just completely stopped making work. And then and it's trying to work out between those two how, because there's no point in doing that, and then trying to work out between those two, like, and obviously that was a lot of white guilt going on kind of thing, like at the same time. So do we fully step aside, or how do we work with it? Amy, we've got a KSW.
Are you talking, Amy? Because we can't hear you. You need to unmute. Oh, can I talk then? Okay.
Yeah, I think Amy's having difficulty with her mic. So Amy, we'll let you sort out your mic, and then shall we get Gilly?
Saying Gilly go. So
I guess talking about accessibility and stuff. I mean, one of the things with my own artwork, I want people to see my work who aren't necessarily the kind of people who will go into a gallery, which is why, you know, currently it's at Riverside Park, and I may go and collect it tomorrow, or it may have gone. Who knows? But I guess that's not, in a way, that's not self-sustainable, because I have to buy materials, I have to pay my rent, so I need to find other ways of sort of maintaining that practice or subsidizing that practice. But yeah, I think it's not all about the galleries, is it? Like we were talking about parks, you know, having art in local parks, or there are lots of spaces in Southampton, you know, sort of crying out for artwork, I guess.
Non-traditional art spaces, that's what we were talking about earlier, kind of thing, like not being scared to kind of like use that. And Southampton isn't, that's true, like there's so many artists using like outside spaces. I think we need to kind of like, there need to be a meld of kind of like knowing that that's really important at the same time, kind of thing. I realized, Julia, you said amazing Amy, and then I realized I thought it was Amy wanting to talk, but it was you the whole time.
Oh,
like,
right.
I got totally confused. What were you saying about, what's Amy, what was that in response to? Like, what were you saying about?
I was saying, we were talking about connecting Southampton, and I think there should be a zip wire connecting like the tower blocks. Originally, I came up with the idea when I was working on the God's House Tower a reincarnation project, as I thought there should be a zip wire from Western, you know, from the tower blocks in at Western Shore. So a zip wire from there, God's House Tower to the tower, so people could come from the top of the tower block and straight into like the gun tower in God's House Tower. And
that's amazing.
The culture.
I'm not, yeah, it's culture to be scared shitless, definitely. Like, but also, this is really reminding me of this piece that I saw where they were trying to connect these buildings within a city. And it was when I was at uni, so like it was when lasers first kind of like became a thing, whereas like now obviously no one cares. But like, but they shot lasers and then they used mirrors, so like they were angled just right, so like they'd shoot from one place and then it would hit into one like one mirror, and then that would shoot to the next place and the next place. So it was only one laser that was coming from one place, but it managed to hit across the whole city through all the different buildings. So like we're joking about zip wires, but actually like it connects it up. No, of course we're not. Sorry. You're right. Sharon's away. Is Les doing the Macarena, or is he away? Like, is that what's happening just now? Oh, and Jamie's away too. Cool. But yeah, I think that sort of like talking like that, like kind of like connecting places up in some sort of way or another kind of thing, like in that way. And I think you do need something like, yeah, something like that.
Connecting that, you know, it's not like God's House Tower, it's a contemporary art gallery, it's a, you know, heritage building. And maybe like some people who might be over in Western Shore wanting to go on a zip wire, a contemporary art gallery might not be their first port of call, you know, on their like tick list. But if they zip wire into it and they happen to have to walk through it, they might see something, you know, life-changing. Who knows?
Yeah, totally. I like my whole kind of like curation process is based on tricking people into the gallery. So I'm very, very much behind this. I wanted to talk about something, but I've been umming and ahhing about whether to talk about it or not, because I don't know if it's my place, or it's definitely not my place as a Hastinian rather than a Southamptonian, for one. Also because like, well, white as hell here. I was just checking the people who don't have their faces up, and I was just like I think I know those two people. Obviously it's been really amazing learning about the Shebeens culture in Southampton, and obviously doing that show with it. I was actually in Venice for most of it, but working with with John and doing the Shebeens with showcase and stuff like that. And then obviously this is totally not my place to say this whatsoever, but there was a lot of difficulties around that subject. A lot of people don't want to talk about it. It's kind of just kind of mentioned all the time. It's never seen as kind of like, and I'm assuming that might be the case in kind of like Brixton or anywhere kind of thing. Like it's not really a thing that's spoken about because of the awful things that happened to people there when it was seen as kind of like illegal drinking spaces, and the fact that like the Windrush era happened and a lot of racism happened, and then they weren't allowed into the bars, so they went and made their own and made this amazing music scene, which is why a lot of amazing stuff from Southampton comes out and is a massive influence on the UK. And it's very, very difficult to talk about because obviously the police destroyed a lot of lives during that time, kind of like they are now kind of thing, and I'm trying to work out a way to reference that time in Southampton's history, and obviously it can't come from us whatsoever. The only thing like I've been thinking about is an apology. I don't know, like an apology in some sort of way where like it lifts the stigma of talking about it. And I don't know if anyone else, obviously again it's not our place to talk about it at all really. We're talking about a space that, one, I wasn't even here, and and none of us are part of those spaces or anything like that kind of thing. But it sounds like it was an amazing time where there was a lot of different types of people crossing over at the same time kind of thing. Every time someone talks about it, it sounds really brilliant, and it's just really, really interesting in terms of the diversity of Southampton. And it sounds so Southampton as well, being able to have those kind of like spaces and then there being like massive controversy at the same time kind of thing. So Craig David did come out of the Shebeens, like yeah, he did like yeah, that was one of his major influences. He talks about it at some point and stuff like that, but it's really difficult for people to talk about because because a lot of people are still like in jail now from being caught in those places just due to kind of like racism, stop and search. I'm sure you've seen Don John is doing the Do the Maths campaign at the moment and stuff like that about the stop and search kind of stuff. And so it's history kind of repeating itself. And it would be really amazing if we could talk about this kind of thing, like, and just kind of like hail it for how amazing it was. But I just don't know how to do it. But yeah, Dan, we've got a KSW, but also Susan, I'm amazed that I know you've had hefty dental work today, so I'm amazed that you're here. Like, thank you so much. Like, that's really, really brilliant. But yeah, Dan, we'll go to yourself just now.
Endorse your notion there of like an apology. I think you know, in terms of kind of exactly Asten, I think this is such a subject that is so interesting to talk about, but you know, yeah, I equally like you, I don't feel kind of well placed to kind of have that discussion. But is a really interesting bit of our city's history. Do you think that ties into what you were saying earlier on about, you know, representation? Do you know what I mean? If there were people from those kind of different backgrounds in this conversation, it would lead us into having more educated conversations, you know. And yeah. we should also apologise to Craig David somehow, like literally, because, you know, he left this city, right? Do you know what I mean? Seriously, Amy, you're laughing. I'm no, you know, he left this city, and I don't think he's very proud of this city. And he's like the kind of the global superstar that you know what I mean? I ain't a fan of the music, but you know, you've got to respect what he's done.
Fair play. Why should we be apologising to him though? I don't understand. What do you think we should be apologising to him? Can you just expand on that, please?
Yeah, because the culture that we have in our city, which is across the nation as well. Let's have a really honest example of, like, you know, what's the guy's name?
Is it Keith Lemon?
Keith Lemon, vote selector, appropriation of cultural identities, and you know, actually, if you know, if Southampton was to apologise, I think this is a lovely thing, Asten. You're onto something here. You know, honestly, you are, mate. I think that would put an arm around. I think, you know, what it would be a great outcome from the City of Culture if the city became a safe space. You know what I mean? Right across the board.
Yeah.
Totally. The safe space situation. If we became safe in terms of queer, disabled, black, but we didn't actually have anything going on.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Wouldn't it? Yeah. Yeah. Rewind.
Yeah, like, did you hear Keith Lemon recently do the to apologise? They did apologise to him.
I haven't. Has he? Okay, yeah, that's great. That's a good first step.
Just recently, and like, and yeah, it's just everything kind of like going on and stuff like that, and like, it's funny because obviously I don't know at all. As I say, it's not my place at all. But like, just because of the projects I've been working on, which doesn't give me any sort of right to talk about anything, but I was talking to someone, and then I was saying, "Oh, do you think Craig David would say something for the City of Culture?" I don't think I might not have even. I think I did ask that, but and they were like, "Oh, we don't think he will because he gets asked so much all the time." And I think he is kind of like used up a wee bit, like in terms of like that sort of thing. And then like, and I think it's interesting that you say about the fact that like he's not proud of Southampton maybe, but he that scene, like they're all really proud of what came out of there, but they're I'm talking about their, like, us and them or whatever kind of thing, but like some people talk about it, and then other people don't want it to be spoken about at all. And I want to work out a way to kind of like either completely and utterly leave it alone, which is completely like anyone's prerogative, but like the idea of possibly floating the idea of kind of like because it has to come from them obviously, but maybe like a platform has to be given to be, because certain people will talk about it and stuff like that, because like Craig David does talk about the fact that like he was in I always call it the Third Eye Centre, but that was in Glasgow. Like what was the African the Afro-Caribbean Centre? Yeah.
And St Mary's.
Yeah, and he was talking about the fact that like it was down there, the DJs down there and the music down there that like that completely and utterly influenced him, and he speaks very specifically about that place and how that's where it came from and stuff like that kind of thing. And so he's really proud when he talks about that. Like he's not maybe Southampton, but that was in Southampton. He's really proud of that. Like
that was really part of Southampton when I was, you know, a teenager. That was a big part of Southampton culture for, you know.
I'd rather not do this stuff, but it's also the case, as ever. Let me just make sure.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I was just saying it was a really big part of culture, not just for the black and brown folks, but for, you know, like a lot of me and my white friends would go down to the West Indian Club on a Saturday night, and that was that was where different communities would mix, and you'd find out about different communities. And even the shebeens, you know, that it wasn't just you know, the sort of minorities that went there, some, you know, some people from different cultures used to go to the shebeens as well. So maybe that's a way of opening the conversation. I don't think, you know, I know people who remember the shebeens really well, but that's sort of like, you know, we can't talk about it here because none of us, you know, have that sort of memory or that, you know, sort of part of our culture. I have, you know, I went to a shebeen once in my life and I was very drunk, so I don't remember a whole lot about it, to be perfectly honest. But that, you know, maybe that's a way of sort of getting an into that and to broadening out the conversation, is just, you know, talking to sort of people who remember it, or who remember sort of just, you know, dipping into that part of culture and then broadening the conversation out. I don't know, because I think it was a really big part of sort of the cultural life of the city, and like you say, it's kind of disappeared. And, you know, because of all the shit stuff that happened, it's, you know, just not talking about it and pretending it's, you know, it didn't exist doesn't make it so. You know, it did exist, and we need to, yeah, sort of rip that plaster off and actually take a look at the damage that was done.
Julie, that was so cool that you were at the shebeens. That's like the coolest thing. Like...
I can't remember much about it at all. They're young and very drunk.
Yeah. In terms of like the ripping, I totally agree, like the idea of kind of like ripping the plaster off kind of thing. And like usually if it's totally and utterly us looking at ourselves, changing what we do, I'm all for that. But I feel like we don't, like, well, we definitely don't, this isn't like, we don't own this at all. Like I want to know if that community is up for that, and a lot of them want to just forget that it happened, and that's because of us. But maybe it's just too much that like it can't even be approached whatsoever, kind of thing. And like, and I'm sitting here possibly like I'll be seen like it will be seen as kind of like, oh, that looked really, it looks like I'm kind of like a white kid who's just like, that's really fun, it looks really cool, and like I'd love to be able to talk about that because it's really fun and cool. But actually, like, I've learned more about Southampton through the shebeen culture, which I've really like weirdly been launched into, like just through kind of like the exhibitions and kind of like the people I hang out with and stuff like that kind of thing. And like yeah, it's almost kind of like yeah, I can't tell if like maybe I should just leave it. Maybe we should just leave it alone, because if that's what they want, that's what they want, kind of thing. Like, and but I like if we can somehow help in terms of like the damage that we did, and I feel like somewhere like Southampton is the type of place that could like apologize for something like that. Like I can see Southampton doing something like that. Like all the other places that I've lived, like Brighton or like Glasgow, I can't see them fully doing that. Like Glasgow will go and change the names of like all the signs and stuff like that because they say they don't have slave names and stuff like that, but actually doing that, whereas like I feel, I don't know, I feel I can see the council doing that here, but maybe that's not the right thing to do. Like maybe that's just that's just like that's not a thing whatsoever, kind of thing. Like, but yeah, I don't know.
Asten, do you know, props to you, mate, for just even having this conversation, because it is difficult. No, it is though, mate. It's difficult, and it's, you know, we need to kind of be, it's got to be done in an appropriate way, but it's absolutely, the conversation needs the city, the conversation the city needs to have with itself. You know, if an apology is the right thing or it's not, I don't know, but I think, you know, you have to understand your history, don't you, to kind of know where to go next. And, you know, you know, this kind of, this notion of city of culture is about the city and every single one of its 160,000 residents. You know, it has to be. It's a really difficult question to tackle. I don't know what the answer is, but I think acknowledging it has got to be the first step. You know, so I just wanted to kind of, you know, say, you know, fucking fair play for bringing it up and, yeah, talking.
I am really aware that this is being recorded, and then I'm just like talking to a load of other white folk about how like we should like deal with the shebeens type thing. Like it's just like really ridiculous, like with that kind of thing. But
at least we're having the conversation. I'm also conscious how much I've sworn and it's being recorded, which
yeah.
Sorry, anyone watching to this playback.
I've been trying. I'm like a total sweary Mary, and I've been trying not to. Jilly, did you want to chat?
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, yes, I agree, Dan. I also think, you know, when we're talking about city of culture, like football is part of our culture in Southampton, and, you know, skateboarding in the city centre is part of our culture. You know, that's not part of my culture, but it's, you know, let's embrace everybody's culture, whatever that might be. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like to do with an erased culture, like, because like it's just like it's interesting that like I don't know about shebeens in other cities or anything. Like when I found out about the shebeens and then was doing the show about it and stuff like that, and I spoke to my much older sisters who used to live in Brixton, like they were just like, oh yeah, we used to go to the shebeens in Brixton. And I was just like, what? Like you're just like my loser older sisters. And then like, but I'd like to talk to them about the fact that like, are those ones spoken about or anything like that? Because like maybe it's not like a actual thing that you, but and not comparing whatsoever at all, but like all of my work is to do with like erased history and stuff, and like Ash, you'll know what I'm talking about in terms of like having like erased, not knowing your identity because your entire like history is erased. And like and it's interesting how Southampton, we're saying that like they don't have an identity, which I don't believe, of course, but like but yeah, if like part of your history is erased, then maybe that's a way to find, not say that I'm using the shebeens as a way to find the identity kind of thing, but like it could possibly be a metaphor for everything at this point kind of thing. If you're erasing like bits of your history, then it is really difficult to put a finger on your identity and work out who you are. Completely off topic, how do people feel about the Titanic?
Just fucking get over it and move on.
The Titanic was a tragedy. Why do we celebrate it? Don't understand. But what I would say is that across the road in town from the cenotaph, the angel and all of that, I think that's actually beautiful. It's a beautiful reminder of what happened, but I don't think we should be celebrating it because it was a disaster after all. We need to acknowledge it, but not celebrate it.
It was a disaster.
That's my opinion anyway.
Was it in like in Weston? Like there were roads where, you know, people lost their breadwinners, and, you know,
yeah,
people who were working on the ship, people who survived when they ended up, you know, in the States, they were made redundant. You know, they weren't the White Star unemployed them. You know, so they didn't take a lot of responsibility. So it is, it is a tragedy from a sort of personal sort of history, like local history point of view. But I think that, the sort of celebrating the Titanic and the I find that all a bit bizarre. I think it's more like
I agree.
Yeah, it's really interesting to hear your thoughts about it and stuff, because obviously within this, and I was thinking about identity and stuff like that, the Titanic came up, and I was just like, holy shit, how do we weave this into it? Like, one, everyone knows about it, so it's a way to oh no, this is going to sound like a pun, it's a way to anchor Southampton, but like the idea, celebration, and like, but it's actually like, I am really ashamed to say that I hadn't been in the Sea City Museum, but they allowed me to film in there the other day, and this amazing woman called Kate Smith, who, like, it was just amazing, was kind of like, as she was taking me about, was telling, she was obviously a tour guide there as well as doing other things and stuff, and she was telling me bits and pieces, and it was just I saw this piece, I want to show you a picture of it. Like, when you go in, it's just how human it all became. Like, in my head, being from Hastings, seeing like Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet or whatever, I was within that same thing where it's just like the Titanic, and my mom was just like, didn't it go from Belfast? And I was just like, no, wasn't it made there? All this stuff kind of thing. Like, and like, it is an anchor for Southampton, but it's also so human. Like, at the Sea City, there was this amazing thing that was like, it was a pin that was like a forget-me-not pin for Titanic, which was obviously kind of like, it felt so apt for now, because now we're kind of like in the COVID-19, and like, obviously it's like not the same thing, but everyone's kind of like, it's going to sound like another pun, in the same boat,
Coming together, pulling together.
Yeah, coming together, and like
there's
that.
Unity.
Yeah.
There's unity in disaster. I think if you want to include it, I think somehow you need to acknowledge it, and I think it would be a hook in, because everyone has heard about the Titanic. But I think celebrating it, I'm not saying that's what you would do, but sort of celebrating it just doesn't sit nicely. But I think perhaps if you wanted to, you could kind of acknowledge it somehow, because it is part of our history. But on the other hand, there's lots of other things that could be included, as we've talked about this evening.
No, totally. Yeah, it's just working out whether that's something that big that everyone's going to know about and know, kind of like, oh yeah, kind of thing. Like, but that human aspect of like, apparently that like in there they've got a big old map where it's got like red dots all over. I'm sure you guys have seen. The first time I saw it, and it was like how many households had been affected by it, and it, like, the fact that it's kind of like COVID at the moment, it almost looked like this diseased map. And like, apparently she was saying about the fact that there's one school where every single child in one of the schools was affected in some way or another. Everyone had lost a parent or something like that, kind of thing. So like, and I feel a lot of people like look at the war and stuff like that. Like Coventry did that, like Hull did that, like they all, in City of Culture, they did all look at that. And
Asten, I totally get where you're coming from. But you know, the Sea City Museum, it's made up of two parts, I think, isn't it? One is Titanic and the other one is Gateway to the World, Gateway to the Sea, I think. I've been to the Titanic part, but not to the Gateway to the Sea. And it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, about the Docklands and nautical and all that kind of thing. And I think if you bring in the Docklands into it, you could feed in the Titanic. The Titanic could be part of it, but you have to be very careful to get the balance right.
I really appreciate this input, because like I was like, oh, I'm not sure about like people's feelings about this, so I'm really appreciating this. Like, this is like, it's what I thought, and then I thought maybe I was being like a bit too much. It's what I think about it as well, so I'm going to go with my gut with it. Ash, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I wonder if there is a way that we could sort of bring it in, as people have said, you know, it doesn't feel quite right to leave it out, but it certainly isn't something that should be sort of celebrated and this is our claim to fame type of thing. But if there's some kind of I don't know if we could weave this together with almost the, not an apology exactly, but like a grieving ritual or a mourning of some sort for the things that have happened in and to Southampton that maybe we're not proud of. You know, it seems like there's this kind of heavy history. You've got the Mayflower 400, you've got the Titanic, you've got all this, you know, racism and things that have happened with the Shebeens and so on. And yeah, exactly, owning our shit, yeah. And just like acknowledging it and kind of doing some kind of, I don't know, I want to say memorial or remembrance or something, but it would have to be done very kind of sensitively and with a lot of different people collaborating on it somehow. You know, you'd have to have the diversity in sort of, you know, bringing together these troublesome stories, these difficult stories that maybe haven't been acknowledged. Yeah.
Yeah, I really feel like Southampton is a place that would kind of like, because we do own our shit here kind of thing. Like, I do feel like that's something that like Southampton would be able to do. Like, but yeah, it's 9 o'clock, my friends, and the night is drawing to a close. I was going to rhyme something with close, but I don't know. I'd just like to say thank you so much for you guys like coming by and kind of chatting about it and stuff like that. This discussion is actually like Southampton always does, has been very, very real and has been much bigger than I expected it to be. And I really, really appreciate like everyone coming by and like actually like really taking this seriously at the moment. Like, I really, really believe that like Southampton has an excellent shot. Like, I feel like something like The Simpsons right now. I'm just like, I really believe that, like, so, but I really do. I really, really do that. Like, think that like Southampton can do this. Like, and also it's slightly become a like, now I know who else is in the running and stuff like that, which is Medway, and I didn't realize my cousin lives there. So now it's become personal, this flight. So I was on the phone to her and I was just like, Medway, do you know where that is? And then she was like, yeah, I live here. You visited me here. And I was like, oh, well, no one knows where it is. So you're not the competition, are you? Anyway, oh no, it's being recorded. But yeah, thank you. Professional. But yeah, no, I really, really believe that Southampton can do this. And I feel like more conversations like this as we like move forward, keep checking in, like making sure that our voices are heard, like just like not being silent, like, because nothing is going to come to us in this process at all. Like, Dan, obviously you're on the steering board and I'm filming it and stuff like that kind of thing, but like yes, Dan.
But I was just asking, I just think you kicked off such a great discussion here, you know, that, you know, we must let those people that are kind of, you know, your counsellors, etc., kind of know how artists in the city are feeling about all this. I think that's really important.
Yeah, and I think like obviously we don't have to do this like 2-hour thing every time, but I think maybe like checking in or like just constantly being like, hey, we know that City of Culture's bid is happening and we support it, and like we would like that, like, well, not so much like we support it, but kind of like just like making sure that like we're heard and not like thinking things are going to come to us. Like, I get worried with a lot of my students. I was talking to them about City of Culture and stuff like that, and they were like, right, so when will we know that it's happened, and when will we do something? And I was like, no, you have to do something right now. Like, we have to do it now. Like, we have to do it all speculatively, and it's so exhausting because there is the possibility, just a slight possibility, that we don't get it, and then it feels like it will be for nothing, but actually it's caused us to have these conversations. It's caused us to come together in this sort of way. So I think just checking in together and stuff like that, and just making sure that like we're kind of like just like chatting and stuff is like really important. So I really appreciate everyone coming by tonight. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Asten.
Thank you, Asten.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Asten. It's been great.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.